Smile is the feature directorial debut of Parker Finn, based on his previous short film, Laura Hasn't Slept, which made waves in the festival circuit and can't really be found anywhere online right now, but apparently will be available on the physical release of this movie. I want to see it. Starring Sosie Bacon, the daughter of Kevin Bacon, as Dr. Rose Cotter, a psychiatrist with a lot of baggage who witnesses the violent death of a patient right in front of her. Smile tells the story of Rose's slow unraveling as she begins seeing visions of smiling faces everywhere she goes, similarly to the visions that said suicidal patient was experiencing right before her death. The trailers for this movie didn't really do much for me. There was like a really quick 30-second tease that was basically, you know, what the intro to this video was. And that spooked me a bit because I'm just unnerved by like still uncanny imagery, and a face smiling unblinking for a little too long. That's unnerving. But then the full trailer came out and it gave me hardcore Truth or Dare vibes. You know, like I said, a smile that's a little too wide, that's just holding still, is unnerving in its own right, but can be overdone very quickly if that's just the gimmick that you're leaning into, and can be pretty goofy if you lean into it too hard. So the trailers, like I said, didn't really do much for me until the end of the trailer, until this moment.
I'm just really scared that something bad is going to happen.
That genuinely caught me off guard. That is a kind of scare that I've never quite seen before. It is inventive, it is unique, and it kind of got me intrigued for if there was more that this movie had to offer. And thankfully, there was. I'm happy to say that Smile is a really good time. It delivers on several fronts. It's a pretty damn good movie, and it is an effectively scary movie, which I don't say often. Granted, there are different kinds of scary, obviously, and this is very much a jump scare fest, but in a very good way. There are a lot of jump scares here, but it is much more of an Insidious type affair where they are very effective jump scares, and Parker Finn does a really good job at crafting scares and knows his way around crafting a scare. The jump scares for themselves are pretty damn well done and not really often that false, and mostly make use of clever misdirection, and I appreciated how subtle this movie went with some of its more horrific moments, and how much of the horror of this movie takes place during the day, where it's supposed to be safe. Where Smile really surprised me is how deep the story goes. It's familiar territory. It's nothing here is stuff we haven't seen before. It's nothing new or game-changing by any means. It's not reinventing the wheel, but the themes it's exploring are far more introspective and well-explored than I would have expected in a movie that reminded me of Truth or Dare from the get-go. There are heavy shades of The Ring in terms of its plot, both in terms of, you know, the 7-day countdown, and Rose being a very similar character to Rachel, drowning in her own work and kind of escaping into her own work and leaving her own life kind of on the back burner, and even going as far as to have her rope her ex-boyfriend into it, in this case Kyle Gallner as a detective, who helps her then go down the rabbit hole of solving this mystery and uncovering the truth behind this curse. I had also heard a lot of comparisons to It Follows, and I mean, I can vaguely see certain elements of it here, but most of them are pretty exclusive to the conceptual. The notion of, you know, a curse that passes from person to person. Really what this movie reminded me of a lot more is Oculus, not only in the investigative aspect of like tracing this trail of bodies back person to person to see how far back this curse goes and where it came from and if there's a way to stop it, but also in the way that it forces you as the viewer to question along with Rose the reality of anything being shown to you and whether or not she is sane. Because she does have some serious trauma and some serious baggage, and it is sort of understandable if she reaches a point of just a psychotic break given everything she's gone through. Where that mental health angle is phenomenal in terms of the scares is in the sound design and the score. The sound here is exceptional. The sound design is incredible. The themes of trauma and psychosis being such a key part of the story, there's a choice to have several scares featuring this entity calling out from the darkness or having you listen closely to hear what this thing's saying, but the voices you're hearing are barely above a whisper. They're forcing you as an audience member to question if you just heard what you think you heard, like Rose is questioning if she just heard what she thinks she heard. It's incredibly not overt, and it's really, really well done, and then the film blindsides you with a jump scare from the opposite direction, and it's a great way of crafting a scare. And it's a lot more of a subtle way of crafting a scare. Again, not something I expected from this movie. It is loud and bombastic and jump scary, don't get me wrong, but it has plenty of moments of still, eerie, creepy horror that really get under your skin. Until the third act, and then shit goes off the rails, not in the same way that Malignant would or Barbarian does, but Smile delivers in terms of the violence and anxiety of like a really crazy, over-the-top horror movie third act, but also you have fun elements of camp and moments of camp in there, and then it culminates in perhaps my favorite part of the movie in the presentation of a new, fun, unnerving monster design to look at, and the entity in question is really, really cool. I love that we are getting back to an age of Hollywood just saying, fuck it, we're going to design creepy, spooky guys for you to look at. I'm here for it. I love it. The opening scene of this movie with Rose and her patient leading into the title sequence in a way that got me to actually pump my fist in the theater. It's just so well crafted, and it shows Parker Finn's proficiency behind the lens in that you are thrust into this very tense conversation, and the coverage is back and forth head-on angles, almost POV style, where you're forced into these characters' perspectives, and I kept sitting there waiting for us to be put into the patient's perspective and see something really fucked up, and that would be, the first big scare of the movie, and we never get that. And there are moments like that where I feel that the movie could have gone a bit further, and it never came, and it bummed me out a little bit because there are some really great setups for some really inventive scares, but for the most part the movie sticks to the same things that we've seen a million times before, much like the plot, which, like I said, is derivative even though it does work. And unfortunately most of those scares are in the trailer, which is a bummer, but then you get to that third act. All in all, Smile is way better than I expected it to be. Genuinely, I had a lot of fun with this movie. It is a really great spooky way to start October season. I'm excited to see what Parker Finn does next. I love seeing this sort of thing from a debut filmmaker. It's so cool. And I hope the next time we get something from him, it's even less restrained, because this goes to some truly unhinged places, and I think he could go even more unhinged, and I want to see it. If you want to see a really fun, spooky jump scare movie to kick off October, one with a genuinely interesting plot and a decent amount of thematic material to chew on, Smile's not bad. It's actually a really fun time if you're a fan of films like Sinister or Insidious, things that will just make you jump but also keep you on the edge of your seat in terms of anxiety and thrills. Smile will do that. It's really effective, it gets under your skin in an interesting way, and I liked it a lot. Would recommend. Check it out. And I'm excited to touch base with you all next because it's Hellraiser time, baby. We're getting ready for probably my hype movie of the year at this point. I can't wait. I'm stoked to talk to you all about it. I'm probably going to do a big podcast episode about it, and you're all invited. So thank you all for watching. I don't know how to do outros. I'll see you all very soon.